Hello everybody, and welcome to Excellent Wife in Training. Forgive my hair, I was just getting sandwich wrestled by my younger kids. I'm so excited. This is our fourth time in this month where we are talking about food here at Excellent Wife in Training. And for this week, I decided to just let you ask any old question about health, recipes, different ideas for menu planning we've talked about. So I did get a variety of questions, and let's dive into them. So the first question is about meal planning. When I don't have time to do good meal planning just with the craziness of a week, what is plan B? What does that look like? And I will admit, at least in our family, plan B can often be quick things. On the healthier side, you know, grilling up some chicken and putting it with some pasta and sauce that's already in the pantry. Sometimes it's good to stock those things for those just in cases. But we also, you know, if we have to be quick, then frozen pizza is a big favorite around here. I have a lot of teenagers who would eat pizza 3 meals a day. So another good one I like to do if I'm having to run on plan B and I didn't get my menu planning done is salads. I love like Chinese chicken salad or leftover steak sliced in a salad. So I don't do that overly often. So when I'm looking for plan B, then that's something my family will enjoy because I don't make those too often. So just be a little bit easier on yourself. If you can't get around to meal planning, just figure out some quick, easy things that can fit into your week that won't break the bank, or do a quick peruse through your pantry. I'm sure a lot of you are doing those things, but yeah, I mean, just like you, I don't get a menu plan done every week. In fact, in the last few weeks, as we've been talking about meal planning, you can bet it was a challenge. Another question I got was about reusing leftovers. And I actually got this a few weeks ago and somehow it flew under the radar. How do we take leftovers and use them creatively? And I will admit that in a family with 6 kids, we don't often have a lot of leftovers. And the more you cook for a family, the more you're gonna have a really good idea like exactly how much you need to make. So that's a blessing of being in your job for a long time. But if you have leftover meat, just slicing it on a salad like we talked about before. I love leftover taco meat. In fact, sometimes I'll purposefully make a lot extra because then I love to use leftover taco meat to make taco soup. It's my absolute favorite soup. And so I love when I have taco meat left over. If I have leftover shredded chicken or chickens, what's the word? You know, just like pieces of chicken breasts and stuff. My kids discovered a recipe while we were being shown hospitality at someone's house where they simply had shredded chicken and rice and vegetables all in like a one-pot dinner with rolls on the side. And my kids thought that was the best dinner ever. And I was a little blown away because it's just chicken shredded with rice and vegetables, and they think it's fabulous. I personally like to put a little liquid aminos or soy sauce on it, but they love that meal, and it's a great way to throw something together. I usually have rice on hand, a bag of frozen vegetables, and leftover chicken. So that's a fun way to redo your leftovers. Also, I don't know if you've tried this, but when I was growing up and we had leftover spaghetti, my mom, when she would reheat it, actually reheated it on the stove in a fried pan. She didn't add oil or fry it in any way, but she cooked it and it just had a totally kind of different texture when you cook it in a fry pan and you're just like tossing it, almost like stir frying your leftover spaghetti. Anyway, to this day, I love that. And so that's a way you can use leftover spaghetti, and it gives it a slightly different flavor and it's not too soggy like if you reheated it in the microwave or something. So hopefully those are some good ideas for using leftovers. I'd love to hear some of what you guys do. If you want to put that in the comments there. What are some things you do with leftovers? So obviously bacon. Occasionally we have leftover bacon, and I love to put that in a BLT pasta salad. That is one of our faves. How do you mix it up? Things are feeling boring. We're making the same thing all the time. How do I get something new? Even Pinterest isn't really grabbing my attention, is this question. I would say the best way to keep things mixed up is to do that master menu that we talked about a few weeks ago. I'm sorry, not a master menu, a master list. So my list is like 3 columns wide and this long, 12 point, and just keep adding it. Maybe you tape the paper up in your kitchen, and every time you think of something, put it on there. Think of every meal you can for every different like main meat, or even meatless, or salads, just all the different ones you like, and make yourself that master list. Because if I were to make everything on our master list, that would probably take 2-3 months. And so even if you did that once, if you did every single thing on your master list, that's a variety of 3 months, 2 months. That's a pretty good variety. So, but also I have found the best way to keep things mixed up is to ask my friends what they're cooking. Because either they're making something I've forgotten, it's just fallen out of my mind that we like it, or it'll get the juices flowing in my head, or we can swap a meal. Sometimes that's fun. I'll make this and you make that and we'll swap it. Some of my favorite websites that I like to go to find a new recipe that is usually right on, it's not too crazy gourmet, but it's really yummy, is the Pioneer Woman. She has some great recipes and she has a picture of everything, but I just found this random easy pork chop recipe on there and we love it now. So go check out the Pioneer Woman. And also some of my friends that came from Russia, they have enlightened me about a place called Natasha's Kitchen, and I really like her stuff. She has a delightful chicken and mushrooms, or chicken gloria it goes by, and even a cake that I really, really like. I'd have to explain that another time. Oh, people are talking about spaghetti. Let's see. With eggs. Oh, it's kind of like a quiche. Nice. Awesome. See, I knew you guys had ideas too. So ask your friends, make a master list, and check out some new sites like the Pioneer Woman and Natasha's Kitchen. Maybe you have a random ingredient, you bought the pork loin on sale, you're just not sure what to do. Search by ingredient on those sites, and I have found those ladies are pretty tried and true. Another really good question for mamas. Have you had an especially picky eater that refused to eat? Well, you can imagine we have 6 kids and we do have a picky eater. We have one primarily picky eater, and he has been picky since before he ate table foods. Oh, there's Grandma. Hi, Grandma. Grandma will remember this. We have one particular eater. As soon as I was spoon feeding him 12 years ago, he refused to go off of baby food. He only wanted the totally pureed stuff. He wouldn't even eat the tiny little noodle or the tiny little pea. So he has been consistently picky since he was born. He seems to have a texture thing, which my husband has. My son doesn't prefer like soft things, oatmeal, puddings. Those are just not his deal like his dad. But as I told you in previous weeks, we did like the same breakfast and lunch Mondays, the same breakfast, lunch Tuesdays. Every day of the week had its own assignment. And when that particular child was ages, like 15 months to 2, he absolutely refused to eat macaroni and cheese. And we had that every Tuesday. And so I remember going to my doctor and saying, my child will never have lunch on Tuesdays. You can imagine the look on my doctor's face. So that child has consistently been picky his whole life, and he is 12 now. So here's some of the ideas that we used in our family, and I hope that they work for you. But we had a rule with all these children everywhere. They had to have at least one bite of each thing that was on their plate just to be excused. So one bite of each thing, and then they could be excused, but there was not going to be any dessert or anything else to eat the rest of that night. I would let them drink some milk and water, but one bite of everything to be excused, no second deal on that. And if I thought they might eat it later, I might save it. We personally did not save the plate for another day, But some families do that. They wrap the plate up and they put it in the fridge, and the child has to eat it for the next meal. That's a choice you and your husband have to make. Another thing we did, which we got from Mark's aunt and uncle when our kids were small, was having a no thank you vegetable. And so each of our kids is allowed one vegetable that they don't prefer. So one of my kids is broccoli, one of my kids is peas, one of them is green beans. And so I know on a night I'm serving those, that child doesn't have to have that vegetable. But I will have them go get some raw carrots or some pieces of lettuce or spinach that are in the fridge to give them a little veggie instead. But that's just a grace to extend to them that they have one vegetable that they can turn down. Because if they're like me, there's things that I don't really prefer. And you need to keep in mind that, in a lot of ways, you need to consider loving your children, treating them as you treat yourself. So that doesn't always play out in the parent-child relationship, but just think, there are foods that I don't prefer. How are we going to navigate that in our family? And for us, when it came to the vegetables, they had one they could say no to. And they couldn't change their no thank you vegetable on a particular night that something else was being served. They had to change it in between veggies, if you know what I mean. A couple other things that I would encourage you in: don't be a short order cook. Always imagine, if you're a short order cook for one child, what about when you have 5 or 6? Are you going to be making 7 different meals every night? It's not really practical, and it doesn't teach the kids to be thankful. So you want to encourage them to be thankful for what they're given, and you want to provide one meal. That is completely acceptable. Let's see. Also, I wanted to talk about teaching thankfulness, and we talked about that. Because when you go to someone else's house for the hospitality we've been talking about, will your child know how to take little no thank you helpings and have one bite of everything? Or will they just refuse? So you want to be practicing at home how they're going to deal with that situation out in real life. And if they always get exactly what they want to eat, then they're not really going to be learning those things. And let's see. So I think I covered most of the ideas for what to do with a picky eater. I hope that helps. And then another question is, where are our top 3 places for eating out with a large family? I think that's kind of fun. Of course, eating out depends entirely on your budget. And we have a weekly family night budget that we can use either to go do something fun or to eat, so it's got to be one or the other, because those things are expensive for 8 of us. So I know this isn't going to work in all of your neighborhoods, but we happen to have in the Southwest Florida area an Amish buffet, and that is a really big treat for our family. But the thing I like about it, and this might apply to a restaurant in your town, is that they have little bendy wiki sticks for the kids and good coloring sheets. And that has been very important to me through the years going to restaurants with my children. I'm sure you know to put stuff in your bag to keep them occupied, not always electronics, but I like to take the big family to a restaurant that I know has a little something to keep the kids entertained while we're waiting. So that's why I particularly like the local Amish buffet. Plus, the kids enjoy getting up and serving their own plates. So I think maybe a more national chain would be like Sweet Tomatoes, any of those places where the kids get a little bit of freedom to choose things they like. Those are really fun for big families because, again, not being a short order cook, they get what they're served. So the opportunities to bless them at a restaurant where they can choose what they like is just a lot of fun for them. Also, our family loves Chick-fil-A, but with 8 people, you can imagine how much that costs. And so we have found a way, when we go to Chick-fil-A, you can buy a platter of like 64 chicken nuggets or a certain number of strips. And we have found it's actually cheaper to buy the big tray and have all of us share that and just buy like 3 fries and divvy it out. And then drinks, that's up to your family if you want to spend money on that or not. But we have found at this point, it's cheaper to buy the tray than to buy everybody a meal. and we do what we can to work the system there. So Chick-fil-A, buffet restaurants, and then if Grandma and Grandpa are in town, our family likes to go to Outback. That's a big treat to go. I have a young daughter who really loves ribs. It's really quite funny to me. I think she's her granddaughter. And then if we were asked any restaurant that our family would like to go to, if someone were to, say, what's one place we could take you to? It would be Cheesecake Factory. They have a huge menu with all different kinds of food. And so when our family has saved up for a really special family night, or when we cash out points from something and we can get a gift card, we always do Cheesecake Factory. So those are just some of the restaurants that we have found we like with a large family. And we've learned over time that, we just have to usually wait a little longer to get a big table consistently. So we've talked about leftovers, about how to mix it up when your meals are starting to seem boring, picky eaters, where to eat out. I have a couple more questions. One is, what are my favorite hospitality meals when we have people over? Well, I used to always try brand new recipes when people came over because it was a great opportunity, but that is not very wise because you don't know how it's going to turn out. So when I'm having people over, I love to do pulled pork or pulled chicken. Some people still don't like to eat pork necessarily, so you could just swap it out for chicken, easy enough. But I'll put chicken in the crock pot all day or the Instant Pot, and I'll either do like pulled pork sandwiches on rolls with chips on the side, or I will make it into fajitas with like a fajita seasoning, and then I just make a cilantro lime rice and get tortillas. And fajitas are super easy to do for people, and the pulled pork on sandwiches. So I do those pretty consistently for company. If you're coming to my house, you might know what you're getting now. But I really, really, really love lasagna. And so I like to make lasagna for company because I can put it together the day before, the morning before, and I'm not in the kitchen cooking as my guests are arriving. So you need to, play that scenario out in your mind. Can this food be made ahead and then popped in the oven, or will it be in the crock pot when the company is arriving? Is it okay if I'm standing over the stove making something special like chicken brine I've made for company? But that requires me to be making it when they're arriving. So that's just something you need to decide as you're kind of playing out in your mind. How's the evening going to go? What should I be making? Do I want to get it done ahead of time so I can sit and talk more than be cooking while the company's there? And then, I also mentioned earlier that chicken and mushrooms, Chicken Gloria from Natasha's Kitchen, super yummy. Everybody loves it. We've even made it at our church for a large function. It goes great with mashed potatoes. And it was originally made for us when someone had us over for hospitality, and now it's become a family favorite. So I love those little things like that happen as well. So those are our favorite hospitality meals when we have people over. And then... Oh, yes. So buying treats for the family. When you're looking at your meal planning, how do I justify, so to speak, buying empty calories? Buying treats for my kids. I like to shop at Costco, so I usually follow like their coupon deals, and I'll buy one special thing for the week. So they have Cheez-Its on sale. Cheez-Its are empty calorie for the week, so to speak. Or they have the Skinny Pop. Okay, we're having popcorn bags for our treat this week. So I always try to have one special treat in the house. And then, but usually that's an afternoon snack. So one of the rules I've come up with, maybe this will help you, just again, take the decision making out. In the morning when the kids say they're hungry around 10, I'll say, okay, yogurt, cheese, nuts, or fruit. That way I know they're getting a healthier snack in the morning while they're, working hard. Because mine are home. Maybe this is for your lunchbox or whatever, but yogurt, cheese, nuts, or fruit are our healthier morning snacks. And then in the afternoon, for the afternoon snack is where they'll typically have one of those empty calorie things. And I try to keep at least one on hand per week, something new. And I rotate it based on the sale. So maybe a BOGO or a Costco deal, or just something your family really loves. I'm sure you'll be able to bless them that way. Speaking of blessing your family, one of my questions was about Valentine traditions. I love traditions. I have a friend who says I'm the person with the most traditions she's ever met. So I do have some Valentine's traditions because, I mean, really, who doesn't want to celebrate love? God is love. We're celebrating Him and His kindness towards us and our love for one another. And so I appreciate that we have a day every year where we can set aside to tell our children and our husbands that we love them, our friends and our family. And so I got this tradition from my mom when I was a little girl, and I continue it, where I dye their milk pink and I dye their pancakes pink, and I'll make their pancakes a little pink heart-shaped. When the kids were smaller, we had special plates that were melamine and heart-shaped, and they said hugs and kisses on them, and I got those plates out every year. In our recent move, I finally got rid of them because the kids are so much older, but that was a sweet treat to get out that plate to serve them their pink heart-shaped pancakes and their pink milk, or pink water, I suppose you could do if your kids don't drink milk. And then we have two other main, well, I guess 3 other traditions for Valentine's Day. One is some candy. It's definitely a candy holiday. 2 is a treasure hunt. So on Valentine's Day, like, my kids love treasure hunts, but my mom brain really didn't always love that I had this tradition. So I made sure that once a year they knew that they would get a treasure hunt, and that was Valentine's Day. And the treasure at the end is either some of that candy that I was talking about, or every year I give the kids a book on Valentine's Day. We love books, we love reading, and it's a simple, small gift that each of the kids appreciates. Getting a book and some candy and going on a treasure hunt on Valentine's Day. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all being here. As this month we've been talking about meals and meal planning, budgeting, and next week, I mentioned this last week. Hi, buddy. Next week, it's going to be any question in the world. We're calling it the 5th Friday. No, don't do that. Don't sit there. 5th Friday free-for-all. And there will be any question you want next week. And then in February, our theme is going to be about, surprise, love. So we're going to be talking about our love for God, our love for children, our love for husbands, all separately and independently. So be thinking about those things, and appreciate you coming and visiting us here on Excellent Wife in Training. Have a wonderful weekend, and feel free to message me any comments or questions you have from this video. I love interacting with you all, and I'd love to hear some of your answers to some of those questions so that I have just a bigger wealth of knowledge to share with each one of you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.